Hello, my name is Marty Winkel. I was the lead electrical engineering technician on the lunar module during the Apollo program, and obviously including Apollo 11. The lunar module was a very unique vehicle. To this date, it is the only and it's the first vehicle crewed to fly totally in the vacuum of space. It was never in the Earth atmosphere. It's also the first vehicle to land and then take off. It landed obviously on the moon, and then it took off and rendezvoused and docked with the command module. It is also the only vehicle ever to be flown standing up. So it's a very unique vehicle. Here's a model of the lunar module. Lunar module is in two stages. There's an ascent stage and a descent stage. They both have engines on it. Anyway, when they land on the moon, obviously they land together. And when it takes off, the ascent stage separates from the descent stage. Descent stage is like a launch platform. Ascent stage takes off and docks with the command module. I'd like to say I have my fingerprints all over the lunar module, but in fact, I have no fingerprints on it. We had to wear gloves. We also had to wear coveralls. The coveralls were nylon coveralls, so there's no particles from your clothing that would get in the way or get into the lunar module. And it's a big coverall, obviously. We also wore hats, so your hair did not get into the lunar module. I worked all over the vehicle. I worked on top. I worked on the rendezvous radar and the inertial measurement unit. I worked inside what we call the cabin. You may call it a cockpit. Again, we refer to as a cabin. I worked between the ascent stage and the descent stage. I installed pyrotechnic batteries and hooked up the pyrotechnics, which is an explosive bolts, which separated the ascent stage from the descent stage, so we can lift off safely from the moon. There's also a guillotine that severed the umbilical between the ascent and descent stage. It was basically like two knives that just crisscrossed each other and severed the electrical connections and the piping between the ascent and descent stage. One of my favorite things to do in a lunar module was to work inside the cabin. We were called either CDRs or LMP. CDR is commander, LMP is the LEM pilot. And there were 400 switches, dials, instrumentation in the lunar module. We had to know all those instruments, all those locations, and what they did. We supported testing, integrated testing, and troubleshooting of the lunar module. You can also notice that there's two windows in there. The triangular windows. You can also maybe see that the windows are angled in towards the commander and the lunar module pilot. That's so they can look straight down and see the lunar surface. One of my favorite things to do, which sounds kind of silly, but the ascent engine power head is inside the ascent stage of the lunar module. There's a cover over that ascent engine, and I would sit back there when things were quiet and just look around and visualize the astronauts, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, landing on the moon. It was just a total, great experience just to visualize that and maybe even put yourself in their place and feel like you're landing on the moon. I hope you enjoyed the show and hope you get into the space program someday. Thank you.